What's up? Because there's not a lot going on in the UFC right now, I thought we would look ahead to the most highly anticipated matchups that we have yet to see that are going to happen in the second half of 2024. We're only really going to be discussing the important ones, the bigger matchups, and I'm going to rank these based on how excited I am to see them. Okay, so I'm really excited for some of these and others not so much. Either way, we may as well just get into this. First on the list, I'm going to put Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko in the C tier. I mean, listen, the C tier is going to be one of those fights where even though I can appreciate it on the night of, I'm not going to be pacing back and forth thinking about whether or not I get it right. The outcome of the fight, in my opinion, doesn't really matter that much because whoever wins is just going to go on to be the champion of a division that isn't that hype. You get what I'm saying? This is going to be a good fight. Alexa Grasso and UFC Noche, Mexican-themed cards, they go together. And I also have heard that we're probably not going to get the two big title fights on the same card, O'Malley and Topuria headlining together. We're only going to get one of those champions fighting, so we're most likely going to get this as a co-main event. Now, their fights have been good so far. It will be a good fight, but, you know, it's hard to get that hyped for it since we've seen it before. And it's in a division where the outcomes don't really mean that much. Let's get on to the next one. Davidson Figueiredo versus Marlon Vera. I feel like a lot of people are surprised that that's even a thing, all right? I may have just introduced you to that fight. I honestly almost forgot about it as well. But it's here, and we're not getting that excited. And I have a feeling that's basically because Marlon Vera's fight style is very frustrating to watch, all right? Now, I'm not saying he has boring fights, but it takes him like a couple of rounds to throw a solid combination. It takes him 10 minutes to actually impose his will sometimes. And I also think that Figueiredo might just take him down and stink it up. Now, I kind of want Figueiredo to win this fight, even though I'm a fan of both of them, but I just don't think it's going to be an absolute war. I think it's going to be a bit of a slow matchup. And Marlon Vera, I don't know. He's like the fighter that I do like him, but I can't get that excited for his matchups. So I'm going to put him in the C tier. Next up, we have Juliana Peña and Raquel Pennington. I'm going to put that in the no interest tier. Apparently, that's going to happen. Listen, whatever it takes to get Raquel Pennington out of there, I kind of want Juliana Peña to win. Or I want Juliana Peña to win because she talks trash and she tries to promote herself, which is great. But this particular fight, I don't think Raquel Pennington has the personality to where she's going to want to trash talk back and forth with Juliana. Raquel Pennington has the tough cookie personality where she's just going to sit there and try to be the bigger person. And I respect it, but I'm not hyped for it. I'm sorry. I'm not hyped for this matchup. I want to see Peña versus Nunes. I want to see Peña versus Kayla Harrison, but this matchup, I honestly don't give a fuck about. So it's going to be a shitty fight, most likely. Pennington might even win, and it's just going to go to a decision. So how hyped can you get for it? Let's get on to the next one. Joe Anderson Brito versus William Gomez. I'm going to put this in the C tier. All right, good fight. I cannot wait to see someone actually try to knock William Gomez out, not give him so much respect. But I also think that Brito's kind of overrated, and I don't mind seeing William Gomez shut him down at range. So I like this fight, but of course, it's going to be on the prelims. It's not that big of a matchup. It's like a hardcore fans fight, and you've got William Gomez in there that tends to be a little bit boring, so you can't get that excited for it, but it's going to be one of those fights where you're excited to see the outcome. The outcome means something. All right, whoever wins this matchup is going to go on to become ranked in the future. So it's a good fight insofar as that is concerned. But you're not going to be pacing back and forth thinking about this. You're not going to have any nerves while watching this. Okay, but two solid prospects fighting. I'm going to put that in the C tier, but I ain't that hyped. Let's get on to the next one. Conor versus Chandler, I'm going to put in the B tier. To be honest, I don't care if this fight even happens. So a part of me just wants to put this in the no interest tier, but I know that if it gets booked and we actually see the embedded episodes being uploaded on the UFC's channel, and we see Conor McGregor on Embedded, and we see the press conference, and we actually can be assured that the thing is happening, then it's going to be exciting, okay? Then the prediction videos are going to be exciting. Then there's going to be a lot on the line. I could be really wrong on my assessment on Conor McGregor being totally washed, or I could be really right. And that in and of itself is like a bit of a gamble. So, you know, I listen, I don't really care if it even happens right now. I mean, they've tried to make this fight so many times. I can't say I have no interest. I want to see it. But it's hard to be excited for McGregor's return. So actually, you know what? I'm going to put it in the C tier. It's hard to get excited for his return. I obviously would much rather see McGregor and Chandler versus, I'd rather see them fight than any of these other fuckers. But I'm going to put it in the C tier. Let's get on to the next one. Shamil Blob Gaziev in the A tier, dude. I can't wait to do my Dan Hardy Dark Room 30-minute breakdown on Shamil Gaziev versus Dontel Mays. I can't wait. And I can't wait to just see Shamil Gaziev on Fight Week. I can't wait to just see him in the cage. Like, he doesn't even have to say anything. Shamil Gaziev is just funny as fuck. Like, whatever he does, him just being in the cage is going to be hilarious. It's going to be the funniest fight of the year. And I'm rooting for him, but it's a tricky matchup. It's an interesting matchup. It's a memeable matchup. And there's a lot of content to be made. This is a fight that puts a smile on your face. So I'm putting this in the A tier. I actually am excited for it. It's a great fight. It's a wholesome fight. I'm putting it in the A tier. But let's go to something that's just as good as Shamil the Blob Gaziev. It is Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. Just as good of a fight, but for a different reason. This is not a memeable fight. Even though it kind of is. Curtis Blaydes, Plotty Man Blaydes is back. I think Aspinall is going to knock him out easily. So it's going to be an anticlimactic fight, but not really. It's just going to be one of those, oh, of course this guy beats Jones. Of course this guy beats everyone. We're just going to be reminded that Aspinall probably beats everyone. But either way, it will be exciting because if Aspinall injures himself, he may have brittle bones. You know how it is with these Brits. Sometimes they got the brittle bones. Aspinall, if he injures himself, it's going to be hilarious to see the reaction of the fan base, okay? And Jon Jones is going to be all over the fight if Aspinall gets injured. So that's actually kind of an interesting outcome. I don't want that outcome to happen, but it would be pretty funny just to see what people's reaction would be. The horror that would overtake the MMA fan base. That'd be interesting. But I also think that it's just fun because two heavyweights going at it. I think Aspinall destroys Blaydes. I'm always looking forward to seeing people pick Curtis Blaydes to try to be hardcore. And they're just going to get completely bamboozled by a big clubbing right hand in the first minute by Tom Aspinall. Aspinall's going to go out there and fucking club him with one big nasty punch. There's a lot of people that are going to be saying, this is interesting. And Aspinall's just going to fucking take him down and twist his arm off with a Kimura as soon as the fight starts. So it'll be interesting to see people's reaction to that. I just can't wait to see people pick Curtis Blaydes. But either way, O'Malley versus Merab, I'm going to put that in the S tier. Honestly, the more I think about it, I think it's S tier. These guys have been going back on social media, trading memes. Merab's got this O'Malley lookalike, and O'Malley's got this Merab cardboard cutout that he's making short jokes on. I think it's going to be fun, and I also think that either outcome is amazing. I mean, O'Malley either sparks Merab out and knocks him out viciously, or Merab embarrasses O'Malley for 5 rounds and drowns him and tosses him around the cage like a sack of potatoes and humiliates him. The outcome is perfect no matter what happens. Not perfect. I think O'Malley winning would be better for the future, but either way, Merab winning would be entertaining. So I love the matchup. I think it's great. The press conference is probably going to suck, but, I could see Merab as he cuts weight getting angry at O'Malley and punking him throughout fight week, so that'll be interesting. Let's get on to the next one. Adesanya versus DDP, S tier. Of course, there's so much at stake. All right, it's the Battle of Africa between Izzy and DDP. I can't wait for this fight. It's also the battle of, am I right when it comes to Adesanya's skill set, or am I wrong? Is this guy going to prove me wrong and become a top 15 all-time fighter? Because if he beats DDP, I honestly think there's an argument that he's the middleweight GOAT. So there's a lot at stake. And if Dricus wins, his resume is insane. I think Dricus, his resume, he would have beaten Till, he would have beaten Brunson, he would have beaten Whitaker, he would have beaten Strickland, he would have beaten Adesanya. That's insane. Dricus du Plessis would be going on a crazy streak. That'd be his, first title defense? And if he beats Izzy, I could see Dricus going on a bit of a run. So either way, it's going to be great. The press conference is going to be epic. The build-up is going to be epic. Fight week is going to be epic. Making a prediction video on this is going to be fun. Gane versus Volkov. C-tier rematch. We've seen it. The first fight wasn't even that good. It was a good chess match, but it wasn't like that entertaining, It was a decent fight, but listen, we're seeing it again. I honestly don't give a fuck about this fight. I have no interest in Gane versus Volkov. It's going to be a good fight. It will be entertaining, but the first fight set the tone for what this one's going to be. I know Volkov has improved. It doesn't even matter who wins. I don't know. I'm just not hyped for it. I'm not hyped for it at all. I wanted to see Gane get served and fight Jailton Almeida. I wanted to see Gane get punished for ducking by fighting Jailton, and I wanted to see Volkov get a bit of a layup or whatever. But it is what it is. Volkov lost the first fight, so this is a gift to him in some way to right that wrong. I mean, listen, it's a wholesome moment for Volkov, but this isn't a fucking participation trophy that we're going to give out. I'm not excited. I'm sorry. I'm not hyped for it. Now, let's get on to the next one. Firma Jandiroba versus Amanda Lemos. This is the one that none of us care about. That's got to be in the no interest here. Manel Kape versus Mokaev Mokaev. The trash talk is going to be good, but it's a flyweight fight, and I'm sorry, I can only get so excited for a Mokaev Mokaev fight. I think this is the least interesting Mokaev Mokaev fight that you could possibly make, right? If Mokaev Mokaev was a big trash talker, a loudmouth, it'd be different, but he's not really. He's not really. He's under the radar. He's a smudge grappler. Even when he finishes people, you forget about it. I just think it's the most boring fight for Manel Kape. It's not someone that's going to go out there and knock him out. It's not someone that's going to just ragdoll him. It's someone that's going to push him up against the cage and frustrate him for 15 minutes and put the fans to sleep. So people can act excited for this. I know, again, the press conference will be fun. Manel Kape is going to be talking some shit. But it's also hard to get excited for Manel Kape fights when he basically misses weight by 5 pounds every time and the fight gets called off. I don't know. I'm just not that excited for it. And I also have a feeling that Mokaev just smudges him for 15 minutes, and I think that's boring. I think it's going to be really anticlimactic. So let's get on to the next one. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. I'm going to put that in the C tier. I just think Max has got this in the bag. I think it's such an easy fight for Max. Ilia Topuria is the short guy. He can get uppercutted, and he just freaking throws big old bombs over the top. I don't know. I just think Holloway has his number, and I'm just not that excited for it, to be honest. I think honestly, I'm going to put it in the no interest here. Holloway's got it down, bro. It's not hype. No, I'm joking. Holloway doesn't have it down, and neither does Topuria. I'm going to put it in the B tier. It's an okay fight. No, I'm kidding. This is probably the best fight ever. This is the coolest fight. I don't remember the last time I was this excited for a fight just based on the fight alone. The buildup is going to be fun because Holloway is a bit passive-aggressive when it comes to his trash talk. He's trying to write off Topuria, right? He's trying to make it seem like, Topuria is a clown. He's nothing to worry about. Who does this guy even think he is? And Topuria knows that Holloway thinks of him like that. And Topuria, he's incredibly confident, especially because he's undefeated. Topuria is a good trash talker too. Holloway on fight week when he's cutting weight gets angry. So it's going to be a fun press conference because Holloway's going to be yelling, "I can't hear you, brother. I can't hear you, brother." Right? Bring the heat. Oh, it's not Volkanovski, but Holloway's going to say, "I am the heat. I am the heat, brother." And Topuria is going to be speaking in Spanish, and he's going to be slamming the mic. And Holloway's going to tower over him. But it's not even the buildup that's the only fun part. And also the fan base is going at each other's fun too. But the fight itself is just a hardcore fan's dream, like skill for skill. This is an insanely good matchup. Two of the best boxers in the UFC. And both of them have completely different styles of boxing, right? Holloway's like the long, rangy boxer that can hurt you in the pocket as well, of course. And Topuria, he's all right on the outside. Like, he's got an okay jab, but he's really a pocket boxer that throws gnarly combinations up against the fence. So it's a striking dream. And I think the last time I was this excited for a matchup just based on the skill for skill matchup itself, I think it was probably Mokaev versus Islam. Not even Volk versus Islam, because going into the first fight, I thought Islam was going to dominate him. I didn't think it was going to be as competitive as it was, but This is the most exciting fight. Even though I'm picking Topuria, it's an amazing matchup, and I think Holloway has a great chance to win too. So I'm excited for it. Pereira versus Ankalaev. I'm putting this in the B tier, to be honest. I'm kind of dreading it, guys. I'm kind of dreading it. That's why I have it in the B tier. That's why it's so low. Because I'm worried that Ankalaev beats Pereira. I think Pereira wins. It's just that, Ankalaev has not submitted anyone in the UFC. He doesn't finish people on the ground. He's finished one. I think it was Anthony Smith. Holy shit, dude. That's the only guy he's finished. But, dude, come on. Like, couldn't you see Ankalaev just fucking ruining it all? I could, man. He's good enough to ruin it all. And what I mean is he's good enough to knock Pereira out or just beat him. Fuck, dude. I think Pereira beats him, though. I think Pereira kicks the shit out of Ankalaev's legs, and I think he left hook KOs him. I think Pereira's getting better, and I think he's enormous for the division, even though he used to be a middleweight. So I think he wins, but I'm just dreading it because I'm actually just worried that Pereira's rise to becoming the UFC MMA GOAT. Dude, this guy is already the combat sports GOAT. He could become the MMA GOAT. I'm worried it gets shut down by fucking, one interview a year at the fucking Apex. One interview a year at the Apex Ankalaev, dude. The least promotable champion ever, bro. This ain't Khabib or Mokaev that have funny one-liners and sound bites and, have like good camaraderie with their team on fight week. Ankalaev just fucking rolls in there, shuts his mouth, and, he seems like a cool guy. I mean, listen, he's a friend of mine, but, I mean, dude, it sounds like I'm being harsh on Ankalaev. Ankalaev's a good guy, but it's just that in the gym, it's one thing, okay, you get to know Ankalaev, he's funny, but he doesn't show his personality in real life, and he's just not promotable. Okay, so as much as I want my training partner Ankalaev to win, I'm going to have to go with Pereira on this one. And I'm just like fucking breaking off into a prediction, dude. But like, I'm worried. I'm really worried. But it's the necessary matchup. So I kind of feel guilty when I put it in B tier because it is necessary. Like, this is the matchup that we have to see. All right, this is the last guy standing in the way of Pereira and his heavyweight dreams. So I don't know. I feel like I'm going to put it A tier, but I'm not that excited for it because I'm dreading it. So I'll just go on how excited I am for it. Even though it's a necessary matchup, it's absolutely necessary, but I'm just not that hyped because I'm a little bit worried about what the outcome might be. Let's get on to the next one. Nick Diaz versus Vicente Luque. I got to put this in the fucking A tier, dude. No, I'm going to put this in I'll put this in the A tier. Like, okay, at first glance, it's not that hype because it's Luque versus Diaz. But I could just see Nick Diaz fans and Nate Diaz fans like delusionally picking him to win this fight. And I could see them in the comment sections with their huffing and puffing emojis. Diaz army, bro. Diaz and the pipsqueaks rolling with him on fight week. They're going to have like 20 guys in the fighter hotel, all wearing black. Most of them are 5'3". Most of them are 50 years old, and they're going to be in Abu Dhabi. They're going to be completely out of place. The whole fucking Diaz army is going to be in the mix. And I just think it's going to be funny to see old, grumpy old man Nick Diaz get in the cage. I don't want to see him get his ass kicked, but I'm just saying it's going to be like, what the fuck did you expect to happen? It's going to be one of those fights where, listen, this shouldn't even be sanctioned. Nick Diaz, under no circumstance, should be fighting. Okay, he should not be fighting in any other circumstance than defending his family. Literally, he should not be fighting. So, like, this fight shouldn't happen. It's a fucking abomination, but especially because they gave him a difficult opponent in Vicente Luque, who, fair enough, he didn't look like he wanted to be there in his last fight, but a Vicente Luque that doesn't want to be there could probably beat prime Nick Diaz at this point. No, I'm kidding. Diaz back in the day was a marauder. I think it's going to be funny seeing old grumpy Nick Diaz. I honestly feel bad for him, to be honest. I don't know if I should be joking around about this because the fact that he needs to fight is kind of sad. I don't know. It's probably a financial thing. If that's the case, then I actually do feel bad, but I don't know. It's a bit of a dark matchup, but at the same time, I just know the Diaz army is going to be in full force, and I think it's going to be funny to see them get shut down. No, but you know what? Because it's a little bit sad, I'm conflicted on it. I'll put it in the B tier. Where's the other one that's going to be on that card? There's another one that's very similar. Oh, it's Ferguson. Okay, Ferguson versus Chiesa. I'm putting in the A tier. All right? Okay, because Ferguson's different. At this point, it's not even something like... I know Tony has not just fighting for money. All right? Tony's fighting because he honestly thinks he's still capable of being one of the best in the world. And he's so delusional. Listen, we know he shouldn't be fighting. The UFC is wrong for even sanctioning Ferguson fights at this point, but nothing's going to change. All right? Nobody is going to convince Tony to stop. We're just going to have to accept it. We're going to have to accept that Ferguson is going to be fighting forever. And once you accept it, you can kind of just say, all right, look at the bright side. At least he'll give us a really interesting and funny pre-fight interview at the Mac Life Media Day. Like, he'll do a 300, 400,000 view Mac Life Media Day viral video. He'll have a new mentor, a new coach. Maybe it's Jocko Willink. Maybe it's Goggins again. Who knows who it's going to be, but he's going to have a mentor with him. He's going to have his old wrestling coach. He's going to bring out an even older wrestling coach that he had even further back in the day. A new team, a new chip on his shoulder, more confident than ever, more angry than ever, Tony Ferguson. And we're going to see Tony Ferguson hype himself up. Like, now he's good. Now he's got a clear mentality, and now he's got the team. Just to go out there and get held on his back for 15 minutes and have David Goggins say, just get up, Tony. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it could be one of the funniest fights of all time, Ferguson, because I know Chiesa's not going to hurt him, which is why I'm not actually worried for Tony. And there's a chance that he wins because Chiesa's also just totally lost on the feet too. But Chiesa's just going to hold him down, and Ferguson's just going to be spazzing on the ground. All the wrestling training for nothing. But at least Tony Ferguson's going to have a good fight week. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get on to the next one. Benoit St. Denis versus Moicano. This is a sick fight, all right? You know what? I'm not even dreading it. Because the reason why I would dread it is because I honestly think Moicano might win. But you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is, dude. That's why I'm excited for this matchup, because I honestly don't know who wins. I'm conflicted on it. I think that Benoit either finishes him early or Moicano finishes Benoit late, okay? I think that I don't think Benoit has a bad gas tank just because he gassed out last time, but I think Moicano's got so much experience and he's got a lot of momentum, all right? And he's got the I won't be denied mindset right now. I can't afford to lose mindset right now, and I think that could carry him, but he's going into enemy territory in France, and Benoit is going to have his aura again. So it's going to be an amazing matchup, a violent matchup. It's going to be a war. I don't see either guy getting dominated on the ground. It's just going to be an absolute chaotic matchup, which is why I'm excited for it. And if Moicano wins, he's like one win away from a title fight with the streak he's on. So amazing fight. I'm really looking forward to that. That's one of those fights where I'm excited just because of the war potential. On to the next one. Volkanovski versus Dustin Poirier. This fight hasn't been booked, but Poirier came out with a list of fighters that he's willing to fight, and Volk is on that list. Volkanovski also called out Dustin Poirier and said that if he doesn't get the fight with Ilia Topuria, the rematch, this year, that he wants to move up to lightweight and have a fun fight. So I think this is a possible matchup that we could get in maybe December or maybe on the Madison Square Garden card in November as a big co-main event. And I think Volk wins. And I think that I would have a lot of fun in the build-up to this fight because I would be picking Volkanovski. And history tells me that when I pick Volkanovski and when I think he wins, he does win. I haven't got a Volk fight wrong. The last time I got a Volk fight wrong was Holloway and Volkanovski won. Yeah, I would have a lot of fun with this because I think Volkanovski's a better striker. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, no, what are you saying, man? Dustin Poirier's a better striker, but I couldn't wait until Volkanovski fucking shuts that argument down. I also just recognize it as a really fun matchup. I mean, skill for skill, it should be fun. It should be a high-level, high-paced fight. And it's intense because I know Volkanovski could get KO'd, and that worries me. So it's one of those fights that it's like for a fighter, it gets them out of bed. For me, it just gets me thinking and it gets me talking about the fight. I'd be really excited for this. I can maybe have a peaches and cream mentality in the build-up to it, just convincing myself that Volk is already a winner. He's going to win. Everything's good. We're heading to the good life where Volk is in the win column. And if Poirier wins, we're going to cope. We're going to fucking cope. So that sucks, but, at least that will be fun for people that want to clown me for getting my pick wrong or want to see Volk's downfall. But, it's an intense matchup. It's a good fight, and I want to see it. Next up, Usman versus Shavkat. I'm going to put that in the C tier, all right? Now, I'll give it the credit because it will be a fun fight. It will be competitive. It'll probably be a war. But I'm dreading it because I think Usman would get finished. I think he would get badly injured, and I think Shavkat would end his career. And even if Usman wins, it's like he would get beaten up so badly, he would just be more cobbly. He'd be older, more washed up going into a title fight where he would probably face Leon for the 4th time. And I just think that fighting at welterweight is a horrible move for Kamaru Usman. I think that ship has sailed. I want to see him fight in a different division, and for that reason, I'm dreading it, and I'm not that excited for this matchup, but I think it'll happen, which is why I'm putting it on here. But I at least recognize it as a matchup that would probably be fun and entertaining, okay? Because even though I might doubt Usman, he's always surprising us with his ability to put up a good fight. Or I say that as if that's always been the case, but it's only been recently where we've been doubting his ability to win, and that was going into the Hamzat fight. But before that, he's always been the favorite. Either way. Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka, S tier, all right? I think this fight's going to happen. I think it's going to happen in December, but that's got to be S tier just based on the rivalry that they have, the fact that this is the biggest fight that still hasn't happened in the light heavyweight division, a war we could potentially get. There's 100% going to be a violent finish, and it's the return of Jamal Hill. Salty Mal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka fighting against a legendary downfall. So I don't want Yuri to lose. I want to see Yuri back in the win column. And Jamal Hill, if he wins, he's never going to let us hear the end of it. And you know what? Good for him because, that's how he is. That's how Jamal Hill is. Jamal Hill doesn't want to let people hear the end of nothing. So I just can't wait for the fight. And it's going to be interesting to see the contrast of both of their mentalities going into this. Jamal Hill is going to be loud. Yuri's going to be calm and composed. And it'll just be funny to see them interact with each other. So, yeah, that's an S-tier fight. Kopylov versus Bruno Silva, C-tier. Just a solid fight, but I'm not really that excited for it. It's just one of those fights where, if Kopylov loses, I'll look like a dunce. If he wins, that's to be expected. But, yeah, it's a little bit of an intense fight every time with Kopylov just because if he looks like shit, then I just get clowned. Because my original Kopylov takes just aren't aging that well. But, yeah, that's why it's in the C tier. Next up, Arman versus Mokaev. I'm kind of dreading this because I think that Mokaev has done enough to become the lightweight GOAT. But it all kind of rides on this. Like, if he loses this, he doesn't pass Khabib on title defenses. If he loses this, he doesn't go up to welterweight. And I want him to win. And it's like, whenever these fighters are on the verge of passing up a record, like, the title defense record, or for Usman back in the day, it was tying Anderson Silva's 16-fight win streak. They never really do it. But Mokaev, you know how these guys are. They're built different, Mokaev and Khabib. Those two specifically. They seem like the ones that actually will go on to do it. Mokaev seems like the guy that actually could become the GOAT, just because these guys never lose. Again, not talking about all Dagestanis, just Mokaev and Khabib. So I am, again, dreading it a little bit because I think Arman might upset everyone and win. Some people want Arman to win, fair enough, but I kind of root for Mokaev in this one just because I want to see him accomplish greatness. It'll be a good fight. Stylistically, it'll be an awesome fight, but I just, I don't know, the buildup, I could see it getting heated, actually. I could see it maybe getting heated. You wouldn't expect it, right? But Arman's a bit of a hothead, and Mokaev likes to talk trash, so I think it'd be good. But I don't think he's going to talk shit the same way he would talk shit to Poirier or Volk, because when he's talking shit to Poirier or Volk, he's like belittling them, because Volk, look at these small guy, brother, and then Poirier, who give this guy black belt? What's he going to say about Arman? I beat you, and Arman can have an easy and quick rebuttal, and he could just say, I took it on short notice. It was my first ever UFC fight. So I could see this being a little bit heated. It's definitely A tier. Part of me is dreading it. You could also say that I'm dreading some of these matchups up there, but that's part of what makes it so fun. But Mokaev and Arman, this is the first time in a while Mokaev's not taking on like a heavy fan favorite, and for that reason, the fight just doesn't seem as big as some of these other ones, like Ferguson and Chiesa. Just joking about that. Whitaker versus Strickland. I honestly think it's a necessary fight because, there's a lot of debate on who should get the next title fight in the middleweight division, why not fight for it? There are only 2 fighters that have that claim right now. It's Whittaker and Strickland. Why not fight for it? I know that Strickland wants to fight for a title because, of course, you get paid more when you're fighting for a belt. And his last fight was so close, he arguably won it. Or I'm talking about the Dricus fight was so close, he arguably won it. And since then, he's beat Costa. But guess what? Whittaker has beat Costa, and he beat Ikram Aleskarov. So he's got 2 wins, and you've only got 1 since your last title fight. I want to see this matchup, all right? Now, the reason why it's in the B tier is because Strickland's fight style, especially his last performance, and when he's on the verge of a title shot, I think it's even going to be more the case that his style is going to be boring. Even when the risk is high, I think Strickland's style becomes more and more boring. So because of how shitty his last fight was, even though he clearly won, I have a feeling this would be a snoozer, and we might get excited for it, we might get hyped for it, and we would be let down. So for that reason, I have a hard time putting it any higher than the B tier, even though it's a great matchup. It's the matchup that I want to see the most in the middleweight division, aside from Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis. I think it's a necessary fight. If we never get this fight, it would be a shame. We need this fight, all right? Just for history, we need to see how Whittaker versus Strickland plays out. We need to see who the better boxer is. So, yeah, but it's just with Strickland's style, sometimes you almost expect it to just be boring. I'm not saying all of his fights are boring, but I just have a feeling that I would get really excited for it and I'd be let down. So I'll put it in the B tier. On to the next one, Sandhagen versus Umar. I'm gonna put that in the. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. The reason why I put it in the B tier is because even though this matchup is amazing, like I can't wait to see that the skills play out. Sometimes I've been excited for Sandhagen fights, and we see him smudge Rob Font into the canvas for 25 minutes. You know what I mean? And this could be Umar smudging Sandhagen into the canvas for 25 minutes. I could just see this being anticlimactic. You know what I mean? Everyone's expecting like a Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev 2.0 sort of fight where Sandhagen's like Volk and like he's going to be getting out of all these bad positions and damaging Umar. And, you know, I know Umar's not like the same well-rounded fighter that Islam Makhachev is, but I just think this has potential to be boring, right? I just think it has a lot of potential to be boring. And I'm worried that it's going to be coming from Umar because he's going to be trying to get his hands on Sandhagen. And Sandhagen's going to be good enough not to get his ass kicked on the ground, but not strong enough to get up easily. If Sandhagen wins, it's going to be a classic. I'm worried that it's boring. That's why it's not higher than B, but it's still a great fight. It's a necessary fight. I say necessary as if it's like, you know, number 1 contenders fight. Even though Umar really doesn't need to be in this spot, but it's a fight that we've wanted to see for a while. So I'm excited for it, but you know, that Rob Font fight was kind of shitty. And, I know that Corey got injured, but still when that's the last performance you've had, we kind of get worried for your next one, you know? The same thing with Strickland. It's like your last performance, how entertaining it was, kind of plays a role in how excited you are for their next fight. Let's get on to this one. Bilal versus Leon. Dude, it's a good fight. I actually think Leon could even finish Bilal. I think he could KO him. And I think Bilal might shock us and do like a Usman Woodley where he goes in there and just ragdolls Leon out of nowhere. I don't think Leon's as bad of a grappler as he would need to be in order for Bilal to ragdoll him, but I think that's wishful thinking. I think this is most likely going to be a very slow and boring fight, okay? I think it's going to be one of those where Bilal gets in there and he's afraid to pull the trigger because Leon is better at distance management than he expected and Leon's faster than he expected. It's just going to be a slow fight, but it's a title fight. It's a welterweight title fight, and I'm excited to see if something interesting could play out. But let's get on to the next one. Usyk versus Kai Kara-France. It's a flyweight fight, okay? You can't get that excited for it. Usyk should be the champ right now. He has championship skills. But it's not Manel Kape versus Kai Kara-France. If Manel Kape and Kai Kara-France were fighting, then I would put it in the B tier. But Usyk and Kai are going to be respecting each other too much to engage in any trash talk. And it's just going to be like a freaking chess match, all right? It's going to be a chess match at flyweight. I don't think it's going to be a war. And I'm just not excited for it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be pacing back and forth thinking about what happens. It's a good fight. It's a highly skilled matchup. It will be fun, but I'm not that hyped. Okay? Burns versus Brady. I'm going to put this in the B tier, honestly, because I think that Gilbert Burns' grappling has been getting exposed recently, and I think it's going to be shown that it's overrated once again. I think Sean Brady's going to easily out-grapple him. Now, I understand Burns is getting older, so fair enough. He might be declining with his performances. I understand that. It doesn't mean that his grappling was always overrated, but you know what? He took down Jack Della Maddalena multiple times and couldn't do anything with it. I know JDM's good on the ground, but how many people have been all right with Gilbert Burns on the ground? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to say that every single time? Wonderboy Thompson's a master on the ground when it comes to his defense. Like, we're going to say this every time? I think Gilbert Burns is good. I want to see him win. I want to see him knock Brady out. But I have a feeling Brady beats him, and I think it'll be interesting to see the grappling. Okay? Let's get on to the next one. We have Jones versus Miocic. I just don't care. I don't care about this fight. I mean, let's see. Am I just saying that because that's the thing to say? Am I just saying that because that's the cool thing to say? It's the right thing to say. I mean, Stipe's irrelevant. He's old. He's washed. There's 3 other fighters I'd rather see Jones fight in this division. Aspinall, hell, Pereira, other fighters. Yeah, maybe I'll put it C tier. Maybe I'll put it C tier just for the build-up. I think the build-up's going to be fun. I think the week of the fight, it's going to be fun. It's going to be hype. I think the media is going to be putting some pressure on Jon Jones, and I think there's going to be a couple of moments where he gets heated in interviews when they're bringing up Aspinall. I think he might even get booed. You never know. So I think the build-up might be fun. The build-up might be fun. And I think the matchup will be all right. I think the matchup will be all right, but it's very close to me not being interested. It's just I'm not interested in comparison to Jones versus Aspinall or Jones versus someone that's not Stipe Miocic. Jones versus Aspinall is the necessary fight, right? But I'll put it in C tier. I think that I'd much prefer this build-up in this fight than any of these other ones, okay? And let's see, Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I don't give a fuck about that fight, but it will be fun. So for that reason, I think it'll be like there's going to be a KO. So I'll put it in the C tier. It's just that it's one of those fights where it's going to be fun on the night of, but you're not going to be thinking about it all week. All right, next up, Pimblett versus Green. I'll put that in the C tier. It's a good fight, solid fight, but again, we're not going to be pacing back and forth thinking about it. Michel Pereira versus Anthony Hernandez. I'll put that in the C tier as well. Okay, solid fight, great matchup. I think it's B tier worthy. I think that's B tier worthy hype. Michel Pereira versus Anthony Hernandez, the real Dark Horse Championship. After Roman Kopylov lost, this is the real Dark Horse Championship. All right. Either way, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.